After a grueling period of banishment, the 13-year forest exile of the Pandavas has finally come to an end. In the Kuru capital, an envoy named Sanjaya returns from the Pandava camp with an ultimatum. He refuses to disclose the terms of peace until the royal assembly meets the following morning. Left in the isolation of the night, King Dhritarashtra is unable to sleep. He paces the floors of the palace, his body gripped by the physical weight of his own anxiety. This distress is the result of a collision between the king's knowledge of his ethical duty and his intense, irrational attachment to his son, Duryodhana. Dhritarashtra knows his son has usurped the kingdom. He also wants his son to remain in power. This internal contradiction creates a state of psychological paralysis. The collapse of an empire begins in the silence of a leader who has abandoned their own conscience. Driven by fear, the king summons his half-brother and chief minister, Vidura, into his private chambers. He is looking for words to calm his mind. Vidura is uniquely positioned to speak. Though his low birth prevents him from taking the throne, the narrative identifies him as an incarnation of the deity of justice, meaning he views the court through the lens of objective law. Vidura does not offer comfort. Instead, he delivers a diagnostic assessment. Sleeplessness afflicts the weak, those consumed by lust, or those hiding crimes. This manuscript records Vidura's attempt to break the king's rationalization. He frames the insomnia as the physical cost of complicity. These lines show how early thinkers understood guilt, documenting how leaders use excuses to hide from their choices. Vidura uses this intervention to dismantle the king's defense mechanisms and expose the ethical decay causing his paralysis. Vidura explains leadership through a chariot metaphor. The Atman drives, using the intellect to rein in the wild horses of the senses. But if a leader loses control of their impulses, the horses bolt. A distracted driver destroys the vehicle, and the kingdom falls. This warning is tested shortly after the Midnight Council, during Lord Krishna's final peace embassy at the Kuru court. Krishna offers a minimal compromise, asking the king for just 5 villages to prevent a war that will destroy the entire dynasty. Duryodhana refuses the offer. Despite understanding the danger, Dhritarashtra sails to act, choosing to remain a mute spectator to his son's aggression. The king blames his inaction on Daiva, destiny. He claims to be a puppet of fate, avoiding the difficult choice he knows is right. By claiming he is powerless against fate, the king effectively guarantees the destruction he fears. Ultimately, the devastating result of this catastrophic failure in leadership is made visible on the blood-soaked grounds of the Kurukshetra battlefield. The ensuing conflict lasts 18 days. It results in the slaughter of millions and the death of all 100 of Dhritarashtra's sons. Vidura had previously warned the king that trying to hold a kingdom through unrighteousness is like binding raw leather over an open fire. This Sanskrit phrase, yato dharmasto jaya, validates the central principle of the epic. Victory belongs to righteousness. Because the king abandoned this law, his empire shrivels and burns, exactly as Vidura predicted. Dhritarashtra's story remains a relevant study of leadership. It illustrates how personal bias and refusing to hear unpleasant truths leads to systemic failure. Real leadership requires the commitment to follow objective truth over personal attachment. Willful blindness at the top is always paid for by the people at the bottom.